Hey you guys, what is up? It is Drew and we're back again with another video. Today we're going to be doing something actually very special. We're going to be engine swapping a Honda Accord. It's a 2010, it's a 3.5 liter V6, and pretty much what we're going to do is, what happened was the engine pretty much on cylinder 1 had some piston ring issues. And pretty much we saw the options, replacing the piston rings. Obviously it would cost a bunch of labor, and there's always that chance that you might get it wrong, and you might actually end up damaging the engine, transmission, electrical components, things like that. Basically messing up the engine and car even more. So pretty much what we decided to do is buy a completely new engine. This engine comes imported from Japan, and pretty much we're going to install it. Basically, we're just going to do an engine swap, and I hope you guys like it. Make sure you stay tuned.
Alright you guys, so pretty much what you're looking at is, right now the car is currently on jack stands, and right now basically all that we did is take out the radiator, just clear up some extra space in this engine bay. And pretty much how this engine is, it's I believe a 3.5 liter V6. It's horizontally mounted, so it's a transverse mounted engine, meaning the transmission is on the actual side. It's on the right side of the engine, and to the left is obviously the engine. Both the engine and transmission fit within this area, so this is going to make the whole engine swap a little bit harder. As you can see, we have a couple engine mounts right there. Basically there's 4 engine mounts in total. However, you only need to remove 3, and basically there's 3 right here. You have the oil filter down there. Well, that's one thing if you guys didn't know. But basically there's 3 engine mounts that we're gonna have to remove, and obviously unbolt the transmission. And we're gonna basically pretty much just show you the actual engine that we're swapping in. It's an engine that it's obviously the same Honda Accord 3.5 liter V6 engine. This one, however, though, was imported from Japan, so it has, I believe, 50 something thousand miles on it, so it's still fairly new. But our engine is also fairly new, but obviously had some piston ring issues. But pretty much right now we have the engine on the actual engine jack, and pretty much what we're going to be doing is, the wiring harness isn't savable. It's too cracked. Lots of the wires are chopped off, so it's pretty much going to be a big hassle to try to figure out which wires go into where. So basically what we're just going to do is, we're just going to get the OEM factory ones that are already on the car, and basically we're just gonna unhook and unwire everything on the new engine. And basically once we swap the engines, we're pretty much just gonna get the old wiring harness and just plug everything into the new engine without having to remove the older engine's wiring harness, just so it saves us quite a bit of headaches. Right here obviously you do have some of the cooling hose, and this is obviously where the transmission bolts up to the actual engine. And basically we're just gonna have to remove the flywheel and bolt it up to the new one. Obviously remove some of the exhaust tape there. You have the intake manifold, and one thing that we are gonna have to do, unfortunately, is remove the intake manifold. And the reason why is because of all this wiring harnesses, obviously that's connected to the spark plugs. It goes underneath the actual intake manifold, so in order to replace the wiring harness and everything, we're gonna have to pretty much take apart the whole upper part of the engine, basically the intake manifold, power steering pump, all that good stuff. And it's honestly not that bad. It's just a couple bolts. Basically we're gonna have to take off this Honda lid and access the bolts there, lift up the actual intake manifold, clear out the wiring harnesses that's on this engine. And pretty much right here, this is pretty much like the bolts that are holding in the actual intake manifold. I believe it was only 6 or 8 that are holding in the intake manifold. You have the throttle body there, and this is the actual cover that you have to take off of the intake manifold in order to access the bolts. that will be holding in the actual intake manifold to the engine. And once that comes apart, obviously it's fairly easy to remove the wiring harness. Now as we're looking here, this is like right there, the wiring harness that I'm talking about. It goes underneath the actual intake manifold, and it has a 10 millimeter there holding it in place. So obviously have to take that apart, unclip some of the sensors that are underneath the actual intake manifold. And pretty much, as you can see here, you do have the actual intake where the airflow goes into the actual cylinders. It is a direct injected system. And right here, finally have all the wiring harnesses unplugged from all the spark plug coils and everything. Do have some hoses that are cut, so pretty much we'll just disassemble those. Right here you can obviously see basically this whole wiring harness for basically spark plugs is held in with clips. You know, it's fairly easy to remove everything, but that's pretty much the old engine. And pretty much just wrapping up for the day, this is how we have the actual normal engine that we have already in the car. Basically we already unbolted the trans, unbolted some of the exhaust pieces, and pretty much just what we're gonna do on the next video is we're pretty much just gonna jack up the engine and pretty much remove everything and get everything ready to actually swap the newer engine into this old chassis right here. So make sure you guys stay tuned for future videos, and it is Drew and I am out. Peace.